And we are live back on the Metal Voice, part 2, Black Sabbath, back to the beginning. We're just going to do a short little recap here because last night we went with this marathon for hours and hours, Perrin. We covered the show in great detail. I don't want to go through the whole thing that we went through yesterday. You can actually just go back to that video and take a look at it and our play-by-play. Yesterday was a play-by-play. Today's a recap. That's what it's come down to. Okay.
Yes.
And
we'll focus. We've digested.
Exactly. Now because we're kind of looking at stream, we're getting the live feed. Things are getting complicated play-by-play, which had its place. And now we're going to recap what happened last night, more focused on Ozzy and Black Sabbath, because we didn't do that yesterday, right?
Yeah. So now Jimmy, just one thing, because I'm a little worried. You're wearing the same shirt as yesterday.
Yes.
Have you gone to bed? Or did you stay up
I
all
changed
night?
shirts. I changed shirts.
So
you thought it'd be like this at night on Black Sabbath.
You didn't stay up all night watching the feed and watching it again. And
this morning.
Taking notes and all that kind of good stuff.
This morning, my friend. This morning I was doing that. This morning I was rewatching what I missed so I could fill in the gaps. Apparently, let's start off with, leaving Black Sabbath and Ozzy alone for now. And also I want to speak about what the F stay, the drama of what happened at the end of the show that everybody's talking about on the internet today. We'll talk about that at the end. So let's start off with the highs and lows very quickly of the show. And we want to know what you guys thought out there watching. Did you enjoy the show? What would you rate out of 10 as a tribute and a goodbye to Black Sabbath? Perrin, go ahead.
Okay, so we're excluding Ozzy and Sabbath for the moment.
For now,
so what were the highlights?
Yes.
And I'll try and go a little chronological, but not exactly. So first off, I finally got a chance to watch Mastodon because I was out at the supermarket when they were on, and I was blown away by Mastodon, and I thought their cover of Supernaut was one of the best covers, if not the best cover of the day. So, it's very hard for the first band at a Live Aid Freddie Mercury kind of event to kind of get people's attention. I thought Mastodon were terrific, so I think they should be on anyone's list.
I would agree with you. I don't need to repeat what you said, but go ahead.
I thought Alice in Chains had a really winning set. If you're going to do 3 songs, do 2 really popular songs of yours. Lane Staley's not with us anymore, but William Duvall does a great job on vocals for that band. And their Sabbath cover was on point. I thought Fairies Wear Boots by Alice in Chains was on point. So I think
I will agree with you, and I will not repeat what you said, but I will agree with you. Fairies Wear Boots, outstanding. They performed it equally to Black Sabbath. Of course, nothing beats Black Sabbath, but I mean, they gave it the appreciation and the presentation it needed. How's that?
Yeah. I think Gojira might be a band that a lot of people aren't aware of, but I think their stature has been rising a lot since they appeared at the Olympics last year, and I think they kind of met the pressure of kind of keeping that up, because I thought Gojira, if you weren't a Gojira fan and you watch them, you're like, whoa, this band is heavy, this band is talented, they have some melody, and Under the Sun is not a popular Black Sabbath song. It's a bit off the beaten track, and they did a good job with it. So I thought Gojira might have been the band whose kind of stock went up the most by doing this. So I was impressed by them.
Well, I would kind of agree on that. I would say that they did a good job. Let's not overblow this. I thought it was a decent job, but I wouldn't say like, oh boy, this is the greatest thing I ever saw.
Yeah, but and then the final thing I'll say, non-Sabbath, non-Ozzy on the good side, I liked the concept that they did with the supergroups. It doesn't mean I liked every single performance, but I liked, those 2 jams where they brought in Jake here and Tobias Forge there and Lizzie Hale, David Germain, Sammy Hagar. I'm not. Well, when we talk about the negative, I'll talk about maybe some of the what the fuck moments in that, but the concept, and let me say, because of those jams, and I think Nuno was the band leader of both jams, Nuno emerged as a star on this day. He took a lot of place, but I think rightfully so. So the jams and Nuno, I would say, were in my great ledger. So that's all.
I'm going to see if there's anything you left out that I was really impressed with. So far, I'm in agreement with everything you said. I think Alice in Chains was definitely one of the stars. it's not only playing the song, it's making it their own and giving it sort of a little extra. In other words, you walk into a bar and there's a band playing a cover song, and you're like, okay, a band playing a cover. It didn't sound like a cover song. It sounded like they made it their own. They gave it that energy and the stage, not the stage, but they gave it that. I'm trying to find the right word here, but they made it their own and they just presented that song well. That's what I'm trying to say. Justice to the song. All right. Let's go back to my list here. Other high moments for me, I thought Metallica did a very good job. Always do. Lars does not get the respect he does as a drummer. I think he's a fantastic drummer. Hole in the Sky was fantastic, and their set was a great choice of Creeping Death. Johnny Blade, which I love Johnny Blade. It's just freaking amazing song.
I think they deserve credit for doing deeper cuts.
Yes.
Hole in the Sky, their own songs really well. I'm playing their own songs really, really well.
You know what? James Hetfield. Okay, I'm just going to get into the vocals here. He does not have the range of Ozzy. And we talked about this yesterday. Ozzy has this sort of, he's got a high voice. He's like this high tenor. And he's kind of anyone who is not a high tenor like him, just that he's in that area of his voice, it's very hard to do Ozzy. He's got that whine, he's got that tone, and he's got that range. James Hetfield, he played to his strengths. He didn't try to be Ozzy. He made it his own. He sang it his own way. And we'll get to more on that very soon when we talk about Guns N' Roses.
And I thought, just so you know, so Metallica was in my good column, not my great.
Yes.
And I think it's because the bar is so high. I expect them to be really, really good. And I thought they were. And really, opening of Hole in the Sky and doing Johnny Blade, that's in the big plus column. That's to their credit. They had to learn those. They haven't been playing those songs their whole lives. They had to learn those. So good for them.
And since I spoke about vocals, I'll talk about drumming. And we did talk about drumming quickly yesterday. You need a fantastic drummer to do Bill Ward. Even Bill Ward, we'll get more on that, had to do Bill Ward. So you're talking about jazz, lots of fills. His timing is all over the map. He's a phenomenal jazz metal drummer. And I watched the drummers yesterday and I saw Lars. He did justice. When you talk about Alice in Chains, he did justice to the Bill Ward drumming. The guitars, let's be honest, Tony Iommi, a riff master, great melody, wonderful, but he's not Randy Rhoads. Right?
But also a unique tone. No one is ever going to have Tony's tone but Tony, right? And
I should mention basses too. Those bass runs that Geezer Butler are just in friggin' sane. And Tony he's just playing those power chords, but everybody else is dancing all around him in terms of instruments, right? So it's great. Okay, we talked about, what's your medium list now?
Yeah, so I mean, my medium list was a lot of it, right? Was Rival Sons. I enjoyed them. I'm not a huge fan, but I enjoyed them. Anthrax, I thought were good. I didn't think they were great. I've heard Indians a billion times, and I think they did a respectable job on Into the Void. Lamb of God were Lamb of God. Pantera were Pantera. Tool were Tool. Slayer were Slayer. None of this is bad. I think all those bands, Anthrax, Lamb of God, Pantera, Tool, Slayer, they didn't surpass. They didn't surprise me. They certainly didn't disappoint me.
Yeah.
They were just consistent, like they always are. There's nothing wrong with being consistent. There's nothing wrong with being a 7, 7.5 on 10, an 8 on 10, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I thought all those bands were good. They're just not my wow moment.
I agree with you. And everything you mentioned, even Slayer, they're fantastic. I love Slayer, but they weren't. If Slayer was here and they're great, then we're talking about the wow, which would be above here, right? Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Then there's, of course, the below. I agree with you. Slayer did a very decent job with their own songs, plus covering Black Sabbath. I'm looking at what they covered again. What they cover? They did Wicked World, and that's it. They did one song, right?
That was the only Sabbath song they did. The rest was all theirs.
And Wicked World. They did a decent cover. I mean, they are a doom band. They, thrash doom. It's all there. Yeah. It's in their wheelhouse, right?
They're fast doom. Yeah.
I'm trying to think other so-sos. Rival Sons. I won't talk about them just yet. Halestorm. I've already spoken about Halestorm. Gojira, I thought to me was in more of the mid. I thought they did a really good job, and they did Under the Sun by Black Sabbath. Tool, I never was a fan of Tool, so it's hard for me to judge.
Yeah, I
And
just
I
put
thought,
them in my good okay list because look, they do what they do and they do it well. It's not
yeah,
my
yeah, there,
favorite
it was
thing.
okay. It
It's
was
not
decent.
bad, but it's not
Hand of
bad.
Doom, I wouldn't have picked Hand of Doom, but maybe that's their style. It's very doomy. Pantera, I thought they did a decent, two decent covers, Planet Caravan and Electric Funeral. I thought it was decent. It was good. I wouldn't say like, ooh, they did a great cover of that. All
Yep.
right, let's talk about the guys who disappointed us somewhat.
So, for me, in after great and after good, I put average. So average, or maybe even if I'm being polite, Hailstorm. I don't think they deserve to be there. I mean, I think yes, you want to have a female fronted band. They're popular. I actually liked her version of the Ultimate Sin with the Jam, but I don't really care for the two Hailstorm songs they did. And among all these great, Man in the Box is a great song, and a lot of the bands, Master of Puppets is a great song. Like Love Bites and So Do I by Hailstorm doesn't matter in the grand scheme of metal. So I don't know if we need to hear these two Hailstorm their own songs. And I just thought Perry Mason, I like the song. I like Ozzy doing it. But just, I don't know. Nobody played Miracle Man. Nobody played No More Tears. Nobody played Over the Mountain. Nobody played Diary of a Madman. Did we really need Perry Mason, Hailstorm? So I just thought Hailstorm was a very generic performance that, like I have the feed for the next couple days. And even last night I went back and I watched some things. I have zero desire to go back and watch Hailstorm. So that's
Hellstorm to me was a political decision of being on that stage. It was strictly meeting a quota or a political decision. I'm sure there's so many other women rockers. Throw in Alita Ford, right? Where's Lita Ford, right?
yeah, somebody with a connection or some history, right? And
And a legacy too. Like, but I get it. There are people who love Hailstorm, but for me, I'm never gonna buy a Hailstorm album. I'm never going, and I respect them. Don't get me wrong. It's just not the kind of music that I dig. That's all. She oversins.
and then my other thing is see this. So this is where it's kind of a hybrid. Guns N' Roses. I thought the band. I mean, Slash is still a great guitarist. Duff is still a great bass player. Their new drummer, Isaac. I don't remember his name, but for him, this wasn't his first show. But I mean, this is a really big stage for him to be relatively new in the band. They were tight. Guns N' Roses musically were excellent, and I give them credit for kicking off with 4 kind of obscure Sabbath songs. So I give them credit for being bold, but Axl can't sing. He can't sing. He can't sing. He could barely sing the Guns N' Roses songs anymore. Welcome to the Jungle was super screechy. A friend of mine said he sounds like Mickey Mouse, and he wasn't wrong. And then he butchered Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. He absolutely butchered. And that's where I think I was saying to you when we were on live yesterday, this is where you realize, even though Ozzy doesn't get credit, like a Jeff Tate, Rob Halford, dare I say Ronnie James Dio, Ozzy's not that kind of a singer, but he has such a unique inflection and delivery of a song that not everybody can do it. And you see what good a singer Ozzy was when you see Axl try and deliver Ozzy's lyrics, and then he can't do it. So I just thought divide GNR in two. Cool setlist choices, great playing, not bad vocals, terrible vocals. And I said this last time I saw them. I've seen them 3 times since they reunited. The first time, 2 times were good. The last time I saw them they were terrible. Axl was terrible. And that's it. I'm off the bus. Just he's not going to get his voice back. It's like Bon Jovi.
Okay, let's go back to the band Guns N' Roses. I thought every point you made was great. The band was on mark on all the songs, Guns N' Roses songs and the Black Sabbath song. Slash looking like he loved being there and playing. Fantastic player. Ozzy has a high voice and he's got a specific tone. Axl has a very low baritone voice and he does his sort of falsetto stuff.
Right. It was the falsetto that killed him.
And he's still got a fantastic lower range. He's got pitch. He's got great pitch, Axl. He's got great timing in his voice. You could see he's always on the mark. He's never fluffing around. The problem is he's always singing that falsetto and it just doesn't sound as powerful as Ozzy does. And it's kind of embarrassing, but he's a punk rock singer. that's at the end of the day, he's a punk rock singer. He doesn't give a shit. He just goes on stage.
Well, and you're right. He doesn't. He didn't fret. He didn't complain. He just went out there and he slammed through it.
But it was terrible. The audience. Did you see the audience reaction? They're just kind of like, they're being polite. I would like to say.
We all sing the songs in our head, right? Right, Jimmy. We all know, the way we know the way Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath goes. So we sing it to ourselves. And we kind of notice the guy on stage is butchering it, but the music's good. It's loud. I'm full of beer. And now
I'm going to make this comparison. I don't want to get too vocal here, but the comparison between James Hetfield and Axl Rose, who have the same sort of natural voice. It's a lower voice, right? It's not a high tenor like Ozzy, naturally. Hetfield's playing to his strengths. He's not trying to go where Ozzy is. He's just playing to his strengths, and the songs sound punchy and good, right? Yeah. Axl, he's trying to sing like Ozzy. And the reality is he's not built that way. He could do all the training he wants. It's cracking. His voice, where Ozzy sort of is at his sweet spot in his voice, Axl is cracking because that's the connection between the regular voice and sort of like the falsetto. It cracks right there. And every song he's singing, it's cracking. And it's kind of like, that's why Axl's a studio singer. Because in the studio, you can overdo it and do it and do it, and you could double your vocals and triple your vocals, and it sounds more powerful. But, go back to the footage of Axl back in the 80s or 90s. He sounds the same. He's always sounded like that live. Anyways, I don't want to get too far out of the technical side. Look,
I think we're pretty well aligned. And look, I don't know if people are yelling at us or arguing with us. I know there's a lot of diehard Guns N' Roses.
Everybody loves us. Everybody's saying you and Perrin and everybody else in the middle of us are wonderful people.
They're throwing flowers at us. Left and right.
Saul is saying, I'm happy. I'm a high tenor. Yeah, I think Axl should play to his strengths more. Exactly. I mean, he's got a phenomenal voice, Axl. That lower range is absolutely phenomenal. And he could get away with the high stuff in the studio. You double, you triple your vocals, your falsettos, and it sounds more full and more powerful. But that's Axl. He's a punk rock singer at the end of the day. All right. Was there any other low points for you?
No, that was it. Halestorm was a mid-low point, and Axl was the low point of the day for me. But that's it. I don't think there were a lot of low points.
Lamb of God for me. For the love of God. I don't understand what people like about this band. Let me tell you this, Perrin. If this band started off in the 70s and 80s, they would be in the category of Venom. Okay? That's the category they would have been in. I get it. A lot of people love this band. They probably wouldn't even get a recording deal if this was in the early 80s. They say, you know what? Lose a singer.
Look, I think they came along at the right time, right? When Pantera went away, Lamb of God filled a void. And I don't think they have the groove of Pantera, but they have kind of the aggression. Like I've been to a lot of Lamb of God shows because they played with other bands I like.
Yeah.
The intensity, the mosh pits, the sweat, the people up and singing every lyric and just like they're angry. Like I think Lamb of God was this right band, right time. And there's good musicians in there, But
Perrin, let's be honest. And go back to the bar. You go to a bar and you hear somebody do Children of the Grave. That's what it would have sounded like. A band who hasn't quite made it yet, right? They're covering children. Was there anything wow about the Children of the Grave? Anybody could have sung that. I could have went on stage. You could have went on stage. We could have both sang it like that.
But again, like I said, I put them, Anthrax, Pantera, Slayer. Again, I put them all in the same. They were all good. They were just doing what they did, right? That's what Lamb of God does. They delivered Children of the Grave the way you would expect them to deliver Children of the Grave.
But Halestorm, I would say, at least there's some sort of talent there, right? I'm not trying to shit on Lamb of God. I'm just saying, personally, they're just the Ven of the early 80s.
You don't like them. I don't love them myself, but I don't think they were good. I don't think they were bad. I think they were just there.
Now, I want everybody to guess, who do you think the band is that Sharon threw off or did not want them to participate? It would have had to been, I would think, a London band or an English band.
Well, and they're saying that it's because the band wanted to be paid. And that's what...
you got to get paid, man. You got to pay. You got to pay to play. Maybe it was Iron Maiden. Who knows? I'm not starting any rumors. I'm just saying. Maybe.
No, couldn't have been. That A, they're on tour, and B,
they're not friends.
That would never. Yeah, not all Bruce is friending them.
Well, what about? And somebody's writing in the comments. What about Robert Plant? He's from the area.
So let me just say this. So something I didn't like about it was, you know me, I love Sammy Hagar, right? I'm a big Sammy Hagar fan. I don't think he really belonged there. I like Aerosmith and Steven Tyler, but why are we playing Train Kept a Rollin' and why are we playing A Whole Lot of Love? Like, why? What is, it would make more sense if somebody played Beatles songs, because Ozzy and Sabbath have talked how much they were influenced by the Beatles, and that's where they got their start. So, I just feel like we kind of, first it was like back to the beginning, Sabbath. And then, of course, very quickly this circle enlarged to being about Ozzy's farewell tour. So we got a lot of the Ozzy material, which is fine. And then we said, it's not about anything else. So there's no Dio era, there's no Gillan era, there's no Tony Martin era. Okay. But then why can't there just be one jam? We're gonna give 15 minutes and you can play all the Dio songs you want, all the Ian Gillan songs you want. So we can't do that. But Sammy Hagar could do Rock Candy and Steven Tyler can do
Ian Gillan, and somebody else mentioned Ian Gillan should have been there. Deep Purple should have been there. Maybe they were that band, but
yeah. So I'm just saying. So I just don't. I don't get, like, so okay, Robert Plant, sure, like Ronnie Wood showed up. So I mean, I just don't get that. I don't. I guess maybe again that gives Sabbath credibility. That Sabbath are up there with the Zeppelin. Sabbath are up there with the Faces and the Rolling Stones and that kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah, I could have lived without. And again, you know me. I'm a huge Sammy Hagar fan. Why was he there? I
know me. Cyndi Lauper did a little video thingy, on the live stream, and I guess they played that at the show.
You know what?
Dolly Parton did, yeah.
Heyman on his post yesterday brought this up, and I completely agree with him. So Elton John did a recorded message.
Yes, recorded message.
And in his recorded message, he only spoke to Ozzy. It makes it sound like Ozzy invented heavy metal, Ozzy did this, Ozzy did that. Like, geez. If you ask me who invented heavy metal, I'm going to say Black Sabbath. But if you ask me who is the most responsible, I'm going to say it's Tony Iommi's riffs and tone. And Geezer Butler wrote a lot of the lyrics. So, okay, you're friends with Ozzy, call him out. But can we at least acknowledge freaking Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, please? And
I was on the phone with Alan, and Alan said exactly the same thing. He goes, what the hell, Jim? This is like the Ozzy Black Sabbath show. Ozzy mostly focused on Ozzy, right? So, you know what? Listen, Sharon put it together, so she kind of pushed that angle, right?
So then we haven't talked about Ozzy or Sabbath yet. Let me say this. I actually think I enjoyed the Ozzy set more than the Sabbath set.
Hold on, pause. We're not going there yet because we haven't talked about Billy Corgan.
Okay. You know what?
KK.
Say it.
I want to say KK Downing did a phenomenal job. The band did a phenomenal job. And out comes Billy Corgan, which I like. Don't get me wrong. I like Smashing Pumpkins. I have a lot of their albums. I followed them back in the 90s. But he don't got the chops to do Breaking the Law. He just doesn't.
Or Snowblind.
He doesn't have the chops, man.
So when that was on, you and I were broadcasting live. So I had it on next to me on mute.
Yeah.
So then I watched it back after because everyone was going nuts about Billy Corgan. I honestly don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. I didn't think it was good, but I was expecting like the worst thing I've ever heard, and it wasn't that. Honestly, I thought Dave Draymond doing "Shot in the Dark" was worse. I thought, like I said, I didn't really need the, Walk This Way, A Whole Lot of Love, all that kind of stuff. But he has a nasally, whiny 90s voice, emo, I'm so sad, I'm so, So, yeah, Billy Corgan sings like that. I didn't like it, but I didn't think it was bad as everyone made it out to be. And maybe it's because the bar was set so low for me. I watched it and I'm like, okay, it's not good, but it's not as bad as everyone
Billy Corgan, who I won't, for his music, he's got a good voice, right? Because his strength. But seriously.
But you know what? So here's the thing. Again, about picking the right song. You could say Tobias Forge has a voice similar to Billy Corgan. Nasally, whiny a little bit, right? It could come across that way. But Tobias picked a song he could sing. And Bark at the Moon went over amazingly well. I mean, and it's not just me saying it. Everyone is saying it. that was freaking good. You know,
That's another highlight for me is that Tobias, he can sing, man. The guy's got a naturally gifted, clean,
but
melodic.
I find he has a similar voice to Billy Corgan, but it's how you use it and it's the material you choose. You know, I just think they chose a song, or Tobias chose a song that was right for him to be delivering. Whereas I don't know if Billy Corgan chose the right songs for him to be delivering.
Maybe that's what it is. And again, I have no hate for the guy personally. I just think, Judas Priest and Sabbath is not in his wheelhouse. That's all. Mrs. Felony Strutter says, also Sharon screwed over Lita in her career, lost any respect for Jimmy. So I guess that could be. We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has business dealings in the past. And that's, look,
look at Sharon and Jakey Lee. Look at Sharon and Jakey Lee. It mended, right? Somehow there was some sort of mending there, right?
I made the point to someone this morning. Well, Rudy Sarzo was there, and they've had a falling out, and now he's back in the good graces. But Tommy Aldridge wasn't there. So we don't know behind the scenes who mended fences and who didn't. Yeah. Obviously, Jake and Rudy mended some fences, but obviously Tommy Aldridge and Bob Daisley haven't mended fences. So,
yeah. All right, so let's get into. I'm trying to think if there's anything that we missed throughout the show. If we did, we'll mention. Steven Tyler did a great job too. I found
he did. Like I said, I just didn't think he had to be there. But I mean, hey, Steven Tyler is of the status that if he wants to be invited to a party, he's getting invited to the party.
Yeah, big shout out to KK Downing though. I think he's always fabulous. He did a great job.
And I'm glad he was there because Priest couldn't be there. So because Priest couldn't be there because they're on tour, it opened a door for KK Downing. And I'm glad they thought to open that door, and I'm glad he walked through it. I really thought somebody from Judas Priest should be there, and I'm glad that he was.
Trying to see if there's anything we missed. I think that was it. We got everything. Now let's get into Ozzy Osbourne. I don't think the stream showed Kathy Rhodes on that video.
No, I was disappointed about that. So I know live. Yeah, I know you have video because somebody there was shooting it, and I wish they could have seen the acknowledgement of Randy Rhodes on the stream.
So what you didn't see, folks, and let me see if I could show it here. I have to find it. Yeah, well, what you didn't see on the stream, a lot of people have been saying, oh man, no tribute to Randy, no tribute to Randy. Kathy Rhodes had a video intro, and she talked about Randy, and it was a picture of Randy and her mad respect for everything he's done and what he has been part of. So there was a Randy Rhodes moment right before Ozzy started. Then Ozzy started. Okay, what did you think of the song choices?
It was interesting because he played 5 songs, 4 of them, right? I don't know. He started Mr. Crowley, Suicide Solution, and he ended with Crazy Train. So 4 of 5 songs from Blizzard. Yep. And then he played Mama, I'm Coming Home, because that's a poignant song. So, Over the Mountain didn't get played. Diary didn't get played. Miracle Man didn't get played. No More Tears didn't get played. Like, there's a lot that could have been played, but obviously Ozzy's voice can only go so far. And if you're doing 5 Ozzy and 4 Sabbath, you can't play everything. So, look, I actually thought the 4 Blizzard songs, he did great. Yeah. I thought Mama, I'm Coming Home, which I'm okay with him playing it. I would have rather had something else, but I get it. That's where his voice really showed being frayed. But I just want to say this.
And it's also it's a tough song to sing, especially a slow song, right?
Yeah, but kudos. There were no tapes because you heard the cracks.
Yeah, you heard the cracks.
And I was really, one of my surprises of the day was how well he delivered his early material.
Yeah.
I want to say this though, his band were amazing. So people complain about Zach, Black Label Society, and Pantera, and Pinch Harmonics and stuff. But you see how good and clean the Randy Rhodes material was because.
Well, I beg to differ a little bit. Zach's got his own style.
Like Randy.
He does not play like Randy. He plays it like himself, and
he should play it like himself. But I would say, honestly, Zach was good, and Adam Wakeman was like a quiet MVP of the day. He played really, really well.
He was good.
And honestly, Mike Inez on bass hasn't played with Ozzy in a long time. And look, none of us liked when Tommy Klooftos replaced Bill Ward on the VN tour. But as a rhythm section, Mike Inez and Tommy Klooftos were tight.
Klooftos is great.
Ozzy's band for yesterday seemed really well rehearsed. So I thought Ozzy's set was a pleasant surprise for me. I really thought Ozzy's set was good.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I agree with you. I mean, yeah, it was a step down to lowered. I don't think it was in the original key.
But like you
You would have,
said, do it
you know,
how you can do it.
do how you could do it. They lowered it a little bit. I don't know. And Mr. Crowley was a pleasant surprise. I didn't think he'd go there,
Yeah.
but he did. And it's, I think he was tearing up on "Mama, I'm Coming Home."
Oh, he was. Yeah, he was.
And
Well,
the
he's
crowd
home,
was.
right? He's in Birmingham. He's home.
He's home, and
His
Crazy
parents
Train.
are buried there, most likely. And it's like there's a lot there.
Fantastic. He did look again. When I say fantastic, I mean for who he is at the age he's at. He's sitting down. You could see that he wanted to get up, but he couldn't. So
If the stream was great value for the money, I'm so thrilled I got it, and I can still watch it for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing we missed out on was the emotion of being there. So, and I'm sure in the coming weeks we'll hear from friends of ours who were there, and that's what I'd like to hear about. If Eamon would have been with us today, I think he sings Slayer today, actually, someplace else in the UK. But I mean, so I would really want to hear from people who were there what that emotion felt like, because the stream.
Well, Eamon texted me and he told me it was incredible. It was just incredible, and I asked him to jump on, but he's going to Slayer. He's on that train, on the train to Slayer. It's okay. It's all right.
So that was Ozzy. But if we go to
a big shout out to Fernando, who was texting me and
feeding
sending
you
me
all
pictures
day, for sure.
all day.
Feeding all day.
Big shout out to Fernando Photography, who does photography for the Metal Voice.
Even on the food
in
situation.
The UK. Yeah.
And then I thought Ozzy was my pleasant surprise. Sabbath, of course, War Pigs, Iron Man, Paranoid. NIB was actually the highlight for me, because it's not an under the radar song, but it's one of my favorite songs, and I think it really represents the band well. Yeah. It did my heart a lot of good to see Bill Ward out there. I mean, it hurt me that he wasn't on the end tour. And Bill wasn't perfect, I'll be honest. I think the tempo was dragging, particularly in Paranoid, at times, and there was a mistake.
That's why he took off his shirt.
Yeah, I don't know if we needed to see that. So I actually thought Ozzy's performance was better than Sabbath's, if I'm honest about it, from a execution standpoint.
Yep.
But from a ticking all the boxes, emotion standpoint, they played the right 4 songs, and they someone said it this morning, and it's true. Nobody really played Black Sabbath, and I mean, you'd think the song Black Sabbath, their calling card, should have been played. So that's kind of
the beginning of heavy metal, as a lot of people like to say.
No, the chimes were there. The bells were there.
I just think I would have replaced Changes with Black Sabbath. There was a slow moment there where, what was his name, Youngblood?
I don't really know who Youngblood is, and I've never really cared for Changes.
That was a political position. That was a political decision, right?
Yeah.
But my point is, they could have replaced Changes with Black Sabbath, the song, because it was a slow moment and it was kind of dying off. But it is a very slow song, and it could maybe bring down the momentum.
For me, that's a song to play when it's dark. Like, if Sabbath would have opened with that, I would have been fine, because it's dark. First song, first album. It sounds like Black Sabbath. That was our introduction to Black Sabbath. I think it's too important a song to omit. Hell, even if it's played over. Maybe if you play it even as an intro tape to them coming on.
Maybe like the first 30 seconds, and yeah exactly. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
So I thought Sabbath ticked all the emotional boxes. And, I mean, look, they're look, Tony and Geezer, look, luckily the dexterity in the fingers. Actually, Geezer is probably the best one out of all of them still, in terms of just his level of dexterity. And how he
actually, K-Man is right. They teased it as the intro before War Pig's intro.
Yeah.
So yes, you are correct. It was there, as they did do a nod. Saul saying, "I like Youngblood's performance. Never been into him, but I'm glad he was there." Again, this is a political decision. Probably, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you put Youngblood doing Changes all by himself? Okay. It's not like he had any legacy to be there, but you know what? I get it. There's some people. Sometimes you just gotta bend a little bit, right? I would also like to applaud Sharon Osbourne. I know a lot of people have shit on her. To put something like that together, everybody who watched this, everybody who was there, you are witnessing history. This is what it felt like when we were young kids and the US Festival was going on. This is felt like in the 80s when Live Aid was going on. We remember to this day as this defining moment in music. This will go down in history as one of the greatest metal days.
Yeah, our friend K-Man made a nice post about 45 minutes ago, and it's true. Like in the metal community, we complain about everything. You know, it's like we can't have nice things without complaining about them. And yeah, it's a little sucky that, you know, there was no inclusion of any non-Ozzy Sabbath. You can complain about that. You can complain about short set lengths or this person or that person. But generally, to your point, it was a great event. For $24 Canadian,
Yeah.
I watched 10 hours of footage yesterday. Not in real time. People complain about that it wasn't in real time. I can still watch it for a couple more days and watch it, rewind it, turn it back, really dissect it. You had classic artists, you had newer artists. The event wasn't put together on 2 years' notice, as far as I know. So yeah, I mean, I thought this was, you know, it won't be remembered as Live Aid or the Freddie Mercury concert. I don't think it was.
I think it's that.
But I think it's that of heavy metal. I would put it on the same level as the U.S. festival.
Perrin, I was watching the crowd on the live stream, and I was watching the crowd with the video footage that I was getting. As the evening progressed, it intensified. I mean, minus Guns N' Roses kind of went down a bit, but the evening progressed. And when Ozzy hit the stage, and then Black Sabbath, it was just peace and love and rock and roll. You know, it was, to be there to witness it live would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain. Again, my minor complaint was it became more of the Ozzy show than I was expecting or I had been told. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, Ozzy's a beloved character. He's great. Look, and again, I actually, you know, it's funny. I find myself singing Ultimate Sin to myself all morning. I was in the car before and I put on Ultimate Sin.
Yeah, so I was singing a Johnny Blade, but that's actually, I do just typically just put that on all the time. I love this album, by the way. Junior's Eyes, Johnny Blade.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to, as I do things today, I'm probably going to have it on in the background again and say, oh, you know, I didn't really watch that much. Let me see that again. So, you know, again.
So I will say this again. A lot of people shit on Sharon Osbourne. Of course, she didn't cut all the tickets for everybody. She was the head organizer. It was obvious because Ozzy was front and center in the spotlight. To pull something like that off, this is like, it takes a year, Perrin, more than a year to get the logistics down, to get the bands down.
Yeah, the rotating stage in like 15 minutes and boom, like almost no wait time between bands.
And, you know, yes, there are a lot of people saying Tom Morello had a big hand in it. Yes, he did. She chose him to make it happen on the music.
The Grammys have a musical director. The Rock Hall of Fame has a musical director. Every time you do an event like this, you have like Sharon was essentially the promoter, the producer, but the musical director was Tom Morello. So that's fine. That's how these things work.
All right. The last note is the what the F moment. What the F moment. People are probably saying, what the hell are you talking about, Jimmy? Okay. The band ends. Black Sabbath, that is. And I agree with all the points you said about the songs. You know, they did a fine job. Paranoid was a little slow, but well, you know, he ripped off his shirt like a madman that he is, and he pulled it off, and I'm happy for Bill Ward. Okay. The set list ends. Ozzy sitting in his chair. Everybody's kind of like laughing and happy. It seemed like the band kind of dragged out the ending just a little bit. And Ozzy wasn't expecting it to drag as much. Number one. And you see, it was like a little, if you watch his face, he was a little perplexed. Guys, are you going to end the song already? Anyways, there's the live. If you were there in the stadium and if you're watching the stream was more of an editing issue and it made it look like something that more than it really was.
Well, what he seemed to mouth was get the fuck back on the stage. And I think what he thinks happened is that...
What the F
and I even thought that. I think that Tony and everyone else just waved and left. So he's telling them to come back so we can take a bow.
He's
but
trapped.
The reason they left,
they
left was to get Ozzy a cake. You know, so we didn't see that on the stream, but people have footage that they left. They got him a cake. They came back, and then they had their final wave to everybody. So,
but he definitely was sitting in his chair. You could see that he was sort of trapped.
But he was like, "Where is everybody leaving me here?
Where is everybody going? What the F is going on here? And what's going on?" And you see, he tried to get up at one point, and he swore, and the band is laughing and having a good time. Like they're not doing anything wrong. They move out and they come back in. So. That is the drama. That's the what the F drama.
It's not quite the mystery or drama that it's being made out to be, you know? So
that's what editing's all about. You know, you can make things look a lot different than they actually were. right? It's how you edit. And this is on the spot editing. So people don't understand this. There's a whole bunch of camera guys and there's one editor guy, and you're just flipping from cameras
Well,
to
not to
cameras.
mention everyone at home or everyone on their phone is rewinding it, capturing it, winding it, capturing it, and then all of a sudden, it's like.
So at the end of the day, I thought this was a absolutely glorious ending to a wonderful and legendary career of Black Sabbath. It could have not been done better. I'm happy.
I wish I went. So I'm so glad I got the stream. I'm so glad I invested pretty much my entire day in this yesterday. I'm really, and honestly, a bit of me, the whole FOMO thing, fear of missing out. We have at least one Montreal friend who went, and some other people that we know who went. And I'm kind of like, and honestly, back when this was announced, who knows if I could have even got tickets. They went pretty quick and they were expensive. And then there's the accommodations and all that kind of stuff and getting there. But I honestly didn't believe it was going to happen. I'll be honest, Jimmy, when this was announced, whenever it was announced 6-9 months ago, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought that, hell, I said someone's going to die before it happens, or someone's not going to be well, or it's going to happen, but Ozzy's only going to appear on video, or somebody, and I'm like, in my head, I said, this can't be as good as I want it to be, so I'm not going to go. And it turned out to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, you know what? Sure, we were not too pleased with some artists, but you know what? That's rock and roll.
But that's a festival. Jimmy, you and I have been to many festivals, and when you go to a festival, you're like, hey, I want to make sure I don't miss them, and them. But you're like, that one, I'm gonna go get some souvlaki.
I told my wife last night. I go, we should have went. We should have just went. I was like you, sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
Keep in mind we're in Canada, so it's a lot harder.
My wife was saying to me, "You should have went." She says, "I told you to go." I'm like, I didn't think it was gonna happen.
Well, not only that, it's because for us, if it's not going to happen, there's flights you book, there's hotels you book. We got the exchange rate happening. It's not as easy.
It's an investment, right?
It's a big investment if it all goes to shit. But I'm happy it didn't. I'm happy it was successful, and I will leave everybody off with this. This will be remembered as just like Live Aid, just like the US Festival, just like the Freddie Mercury tribute. This day will go down in history. And for everybody who was there and everybody who watched, you will see this was a day to remember. And that's it.
I agree. Well, it was fun. It was fun to share it with you all this weekend, everybody. Jimmy and I are going to take a much needed break, and I'm sure something will happen in the mail world this week that'll make us come back and see you soon.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. And thanks yesterday, everybody, for tuning in. There was a lot of, where's the link? Where's the link? Where's the stream? Where's the stream? Where's the link?
We're not pirators. We're not pirates.
No, we try to do this the easy, the clean way. All right, guys. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you.
Happy Sunday, everybody.